Why hello fellow Blossom bots, Rodamon here. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of a new series covering Blossom, the Seed of Life. If you would like to skip the game's overview, please use YouTube chapters. Blossom, the Seed of Life is a base building terraforming game where you control a little robot and terraform a bleak world into a green paradise. You play as a robot alone on a desolate planet with the goal to bring life to the planet. The game feels like a bit like a cross of the Planet Crafter, because of course, you know, terraforming. And it has a pretty similar inventory and building mechanics like Astroneer. So like a hybrid of the two. And let's just jump right into it without a further ado. New game. I'm going to be playing on survival difficulty rather than the easier Explorer. Recharge your battery. So in order to recharge your battery, you walk up to a battery and you hit E to connect to it. And you plug into it to recharge. Install a mining module and upgrade your backpack. So we look at the cable again and we hit Q to disconnect. And then we need a mining module. So in this room, there's a battery here which is overcharged past its normal capacity of like 50 to 734. There is a storage bench with nothing on it. There is a control panel, which tells you about charging and tells you about circuits. So you can connect batteries to plugs, plugs to batteries, so on and so forth. And in order to get the crafting station on, we should plug the battery up to the pod we're in, and that will allow us to open up the door, and then the pod we're in to the crafting station. Taking a look at the crafting station, the mining module version 1 only takes 5 power, and we have 719 available, and a small backpack. Done. Next, we want to upgrade our backpack to a medium one. In order to do that, we need iron ore, 3 of it. So going outside, I'm going to top up my backpack again, and we just walk over to some iron and hold E to mine. And of course, this will draw from our internal battery, and you don't want to hit 0 because like 0 low-key kills you. Although you're a robot, so like, they'll just make a new one. Alright, now that we have the iron and the backpack, we can make a medium-sized one. Boom! And now it can hold more power, as you can see. It has double the capacity. So I'll charge it back up. Perfect. Alright, next, it wants me to craft an encryption key. Insert the encryption key into the control panel and deploy the printer. And we have new blueprints here. So a light module for a light bulb, mining module for better mining, sprint module so that we can sprint around, a larger backpack, and then the encryption key. The encryption key is a copper ore and a regolith chunk. There's copper. And anytime you find something new, it will add to the database, which is available in the control panel. So if we look at the control panel here, this is the tutorial about crafting, this is the tutorial about mining, and then these are the things that we've interacted with, iron and copper. And it will just get added. Regolith chunks you can find just like laying on the ground as like shiny nuggets. There are also minables as well that you can find, but for now, a shiny nugget on the ground is just fine. And I'm just going to keep topping up my backpack periodically so I don't run out of power. There we go. Encryption key. It is now crafted. Now, if you look at my backpack, it has 6 slots, and 1 is being filled by the encryption key. And I can stick the encryption key into the control panel by pressing R. Done. And it wants me to deploy the printer. So this here is a printer. And the building mechanics, I'm going to pause a second. The building mechanics in this game are a little different than most of the games I've played. So the radius that it's in, it has to be deployed, and you can just kind of pick wherever you want. Now, the important parts here is the power plug. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the printer like right here so that I can plug this into here. Now, it's also worth noting, power works both ways. So I could also pull this cable to here. All power sockets are symmetrical in a way. Okay. It wants me to upgrade my backpack again to a large backpack. But in order to do that efficiently, I probably want to install the other things here too. Light module, mining module, sprint module. So let's do the sprint module next so I can sprint around. Because moving around at like slow speeds, yeah, no thanks. I want to move fast. Also, DD Reed, thank you for the resub. On top of that, I should mention anything that you want to make, you can, and let me raise the volume a little bit. Anything you want to make, you can just blueprint as well. And pin it to your user interface. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So here's the sprint module. And if you look at the bottom right of my backpack, that little red button, that's the sprint module. It gets like installed into the backpack. Next, let's get the light module so I can have a flashlight. And I'm just going to keep charging up my backpack. So, here we go. Sprint time. And when we jump, we can do like kung fu moves. Morpheus downloaded that one for us. It's pretty nice. All right, flashlight module going up. And if you wanted to pin it, and this time I will pin by hitting R, the mining module recipe, because that's what we're going to do next. So as you can see in the top left, the mining module recipe is 2 copper, 1 silica. Silica is the stuff at the top of that hill there. So we'll go there next. But we can have a flashlight module because there is a day-night cycle on this planet. And obviously when it's nighttime, flashlights might come in handy. Now some materials like the silica ore takes a lot of power to mine. And as you can see, my batteries are quite low. So I'm actually going to intentionally run really low on power so you can see what that looks like. So as you run low on power, it's getting dark, Mr. Stark comes to mind. And at 0%, you just die. And you'll print a copy of yourself. It's not a particularly compelling mechanic, other than you just flop over and die. So like, I'm gonna try not to die. We'll see if I can manage that. So just keep in mind that you have pretty finite power, so you shouldn't go wandering too far from your base. You know, lest you depower somewhere far away or something. Boom. And now the mine module on the top of my backpack is been improved, meaning it's like more efficient and can mine a wider variety of stuff. Now there is a mining module version 3, which requires a large backpack and like more complex minerals, but next we're going to do the large backpack. So large backpack is sulfur and silicon. So let's, we know how much power the silica requires, so we're going to go up to the top of the hill and only mine that, and then we'll get sulfur afterwards. So this big one of silica, I cannot mine. It's too big for my current mining laser. But here's the difference. You can see the power level of my backpack right now. That only used about half my power, not like 2/3 of my power, because I upgraded my mining laser. So there is the tangible benefit of a better mining laser, which is more efficient. All right, and to sulfur next. I wonder if sulfur smells like stinky eggs when there's no atmosphere. I'm gonna guess no. Additionally, it is saying that I can install Info Module V2 as an optional and find missing vaults and install blueprints into the printer. I like that too. So if we wanted to do that, we could put the silica and the sulfur required for the large backpack away and come over to the printer here, because we haven't actually interacted with it. And the printer now can make storage tier 1s, if we wanted. So here is all of the information we've had so far. And if we wanted to, well, actually, you know what? I'm gonna get the large backpack first, because the large backpack will store more power, making it easier to do the other stuff. There we go. Now, at the top of the backpack, there's a number there. That is the charge level. So as you can see, fully charged, and it will tick down from 100. Okay, so we have the Info Module V1. And that is the optional one, and I definitely want to do that. So let's go get the regolith for that. And that's going to give us some, like, info overlay stuff, which is very handy. And nope, no fall damage. Okay. The compass is now available. So if you look at the top of the screen, we have a compass. Like west, south, east, north. So that was pretty handy to install. Now there is an Info Module V2. Let's get that one too. Because, you know, I love optional upgrades. And now, points of interest are marked down. As you can see, the landing pod is 25 meters that way. And other points of interest, like the missing vaults that we're trying to find, are now marked down on the map, which is incredibly useful. There is indeed an Info Module V3, which adds planet info to the HUD. And, well, I don't mind if I do. I mean, I'm marooned on this planet, might as well know a little bit about it. If you're wondering, the resources will be exhausted where you live. They won't regenerate. But that becomes far less of an issue later on in the game. So here we go. Info Module V3. And now I can see that it is Sol 1 in the spring. And my XY coordinates are in the top right. And the time of day is 1 p.m. Cool. All right, next up, we have the Overlay module, which adds a power overlay. And the Construction module, which enables construction, deconstruction, movement, and rotation of machines. Let's get the Construction module next. I'm trying to get all the optional modules installed so that we can use them to our advantage as we do the other missions. Because it just makes the other missions a little bit easier, I think. Now in this case, I bought more copper ore than I needed, but I'm sure I'll use it. Alright, construction details is now in here about how to construct and deconstruct, but I'll run you through it without reading that. Basically, look at an object. I can hold Q to deconstruct it. If I look at like the printer, for instance, I can hit Q and then hold R to move it, or X and Z to rotate it while it's in place. And when you move it, it's important to note that you can only move it so far. So once you move it beyond your like carry, your range, this is about as far as I can go. It's like 100 meters, maybe 50 meters, something like that. Just keep that in mind. Well, in this case, let's move it. And as you can see, it remains plugged in. If we were trying to move it and we exceeded the range of the plug would disconnect. These plugs have ranges, and there's different types of plugs, which will have better ranges over time. All right, next up. Overlay module sounds pretty good to me. So that's silica ore. So we know there's a big node of silica over that way, but I can't mine that yet. Oh, here we go. Here's a smaller node of silica. Mouse wheel is also your camera controls, and using the camera controls to zoom all the way out, especially when you're building really big things, can be very useful. Because some of the objects you build are massive, and you're not going to want to be like, your point of reference is all screwed up if you're in like zoom in mode. So, the power overlay is now available, and if we hit 1, we can see the power overlay. And this will show where all the cables are. And it will also show the rate of gain or loss when generating power. Okay, we have a planet overlay, module 2. Bergon, thank you for the resub. And I am doing better than I was earlier. I'm on the mend. Planet overlay gives us this. Let me hide the overlays for a moment. So we have pressure, temperature, soil, oxygen, weather formations, and all that stuff. And this is all the information that you're going to be terraforming on, which is useful intel. All right. I don't have steel, so I'm going to stop doing overlay modules for right now. And I'm also going to not bother with the mining modules right now. And what I'm going to do instead is work on the vaults. So let's head over to the closest vault and start finding the missing vaults and installing the disks into the printer. So this is a little vault, and this is the power extender. The power extender allows you to essentially, they're like extension cables. This one gives a fuel generator. Pretty handy, considering we've been draining the hell out of our batteries and not replacing any of the power that we've been using. Terraform Analyzer. That one is really important. It analyzes the milestones of terraforming, which will then also tell you what blueprints you unlock when you reach those milestones. And it allows you to track your progress in greater detail than just the overlay here, which does not include milestone data. This will make a lot more sense when I make one, so don't worry. A battery? Never a bad thing to have battery. And as you can see, having not made the like overlay information, trying to find these things would have been kind of annoying. So, and a drill. All right, so let's install the blueprint discs into the printer. When you have these blueprints, you install it into the front of the printer. Actually, I'm going to need to rotate this printer because the front of the printer isn't facing me. The front of the printer is actually here. So, speaking of which, let's rotate it. Perfect. All right, power extender is going in. Fuel generator. Terraform Analyzer. Battery. And drill. Okay, now it wants me to build a battery and generate power before we run out of power. Because, of course, we have had this overcharged battery here, but that's not going to last for very long. And then we have all these craftables, too. So let's figure out exactly what we need to build. That would be wise. I'm also going to move this again to right here. Okay. So the first thing we want to make is a battery, and that costs 1 power cell. And a power cell, as you can see in the top left, and I love this feature, it shows you the materials that go into it. Cause, yeah, like, it should. There's so many games that, like, don't do that. It's like, oh, you just need a power cell. It's like, what the hell is a power cell? Please. And here it's like, no. It will tell you. You'll know all of the reagents that go into a complex thing. Yeah, QL off the charts. I know. There's so many games that don't do that. They're like, oh, yeah, you just need a regolith core. It's like, what is a regolith core? Come on, game. No, here is easy. So the crafting station is making individual components, and the printer is making buildables. So to make a power cell, we go to the electronics. Boom, power cell. And then to make a battery, done. So we have to figure out exactly where we want to put the battery, because this will basically inform where we're going to be generating power. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a battery, and as you can see, there's 2 plugs in the battery. I'm going to put a battery here. Cool. All right, now we should generate a little bit of power before, of course, the ship runs out. So having a battery is great, but we need to be able to put power into it. So obviously we're going to want a fuel generator, and a fuel generator is going to be regolith, iron, and 2 copper. And Turtle, thank you for the cheer. Okay, got the copper for the wire, got the regolith, and got the iron. Now, of course, this doesn't cover the fact that it will also need a fuel rod, because a power generator without a source of fuel won't work. Obviously, having played before, I know what a fuel rod is in this game, a regolith core, but I digress. Let's just build a fuel generator and then we'll get there. So, composite metal, which is a mix of regolith and iron. And then a copper wire, which is just 2 copper ore. Put those 2 things together, and you get a fuel generator tier 1. So this fuel generator, I am going to put right here. I'm going to connect the fuel generator up to the battery, like that. And then we actually need to generate power. So if you are ever confused, do not forget the control panel basically has everything. So you can always go into the control panel and be like, hey, fuel generator. Burns fuel and turns it into power. And then if you take a look at the fuel generator, it generates power using solid regolith fuel rods and has 2 fuel slots. A solid regolith oxide rod is 2 regolith chunks. So we generate power by basically burning terrain, I suppose. Now, it's worth noting, this will generate 1 power per second, and powers are measured in units. Right? The battery will hold like 50 units of power, So power is kind of measured in like time in a way, if that makes sense. And it's also worth noting that this battery is not currently charging anything. Right? So let's make this landing pod run off the new battery rather than the old one. So that involves us making a power extender. And a power extender costs iron and a regolith chunk. And I'm actually going to want to make 2 power extenders. Ooh, but let's charge up first. Because I'm low. Good enough. And then we know that the fuel generator that we have also can have another fuel rod, so we might as well just make a second fuel rod for it as well. So I have enough materials for 2 power extenders and a fuel rod. So power extender is composite metal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a power extender here, right before the battery, so that we can have multiple inputs leading into the battery. And then a power extender after the battery, so we'd have multiple outputs coming out of the battery. And then let's rewire it. So the fuel generator will feed into this thing, which then feeds into the battery. And then the battery feeds into this, and this will feed to the pod. So now the pod that we use is getting power from our power generator. And this battery here can be disconnected and reserved as emergency power or something like that. And as you can see, we're still, of course, gaining power off the network because it's fuel generator to battery to pod. Okay, next, deploy a drill. Ideally 2 drills, right, is what it's kind of saying. So a drill here starts to add atmosphere to the planet. And that is going to be iron, regolith, silica, and sulfur. All right, we'll start collecting. Is power directional? No. Well, I guess, sort of? But not really. It's omnidirectional, but like... If I had the battery at a dead end, it's not going to feed back. If that maybe I'm not explaining it. I don't really know how to explain it all that well. But yeah, it's functionally omnidirectional, I guess. Doesn't so much have a direction. So I'm going to get the pressure core stuff. And then it's also worth noting that, like, drills are going to require more power, so we're going to have to scale that up as well. Press B to toggle backpack mode and drop items. Is that because I'm full? Yeah, I think I'm full. So the generator stopped because the battery's full and there's nowhere to put the excess power. So this won't run unless it is needed. So if I start drawing power off of it, like that, as you can see, it's now running again. Because now it needs to add power to the network. So 2 composite metals, 1 and 2. And then 2 pressure cores. And then once we have the drills made, I'm also going to want to... that just got loud again. I'm going to want to balance out our power grid so that we're generating enough power for this stuff. Because at the moment, we don't even have enough power banked in our batteries to even, like, make a drill, which is a problem. There we go. There's the first drill. And I'm going to make another power extender. So I'm actually going to use the composite metal that I've made to make yet another extender, rather than a second drill for now. So I'm going to run this cable up to here, and then this to the drill. So as you can see, this drill requires a little less than half a power a second, and the power generator that we're making is 1 power a second. So we could hypothetically power up 2 drills. And what this is doing is, as we add atmosphere to the planet, it is going to clear the fog and dust storms, so visibility will go up. Alright, where is Regolith? Come on, Regolith. There are some. We open up the terraforming overlay. As you can see, we have like a Pascal meter in the top left, which indicates fog clearance progress. All right, second drill coming up. Oh, that's a power extender. Not what I meant to do. Drill. Now the deployables here want to be very on like very flat ground, so just keep that in mind when you're planning and building. And there we go, double drills. For now, we are generating enough power to keep both drills going, but just barely. As you can see, we're only adding a 0.2 power per second to the battery. But I'm going to do a Terraform Analyzer and then maybe circle back to do another battery. So the Terraform Analyzer requires silica ore and a regolith chunk for glass. Oh, there's some silica. Oh, I probably jumped over some. Yep, that's even closer silica. Perfect. And as I mentioned before, the Terraform Analyzer will show you the milestone checkpoints and the blueprints that you will earn by hitting those. It is one of the most crucial parts of your terraforming project. Okay, and it also requires 10 power. So, it's probably a good idea, unless I want to wait a long time, to start generating more power. So, let's go get more iron and regolith and copper. Because we've now hit, basically, the amount of progress we can make. But there we go. We hit pressure stage 1 achieved. We hit a milestone, but we don't know what a reward for it is because we don't have an analyzer yet. But we're 1/4% done with the dust storms. And you'll notice that the atmosphere gets a little bit nicer. I already have higher view distance. It's like a little less oppressive, is maybe the way to phrase it. Okay, fuel generator. We have just enough power to generate. There we go. And now you can see why I'm using these extenders, because had I not, we wouldn't have a way to plug a new one in, right? Okay, I think we should also replace some of the regolith rods that we have consumed. Plus, the new generator only has the 1 rod, so let's get another rod in there. Because, yeah, they're both down to 1 rod now. You assume generators can't be chained together? They have 1 plug. Alright, here is the Terraform Analyzer. You should probably put the Terraform Analyzer pretty close to where the printer is. And I'm going to put it here. I'm just going to be lazy and like plug it up to the pod like this. Alright, then if we take a look at it, for hitting pressure stage 1, we got a wagon and a storage module, and I can hit R to create the blueprint disks for that. Cool. The next one is a battery that you can put on your wagon, a miner laser that you can put on your wagon, and a larger storage. So this storage module goes on a wagon, and wagons are like, well, they're wagons. They're like shopping carts, I guess. But so far, so good. And let's check in now that we have this going. Circle back to some of the ones that we stopped doing. So, mining module V3. Now that the dust storms and the fog are being worked on. So we need 2 silver and 2 aluminum. And as you can see here, I need a small size mining laser. I need a deployable laser in order to mine that. Oh, lucky for me, I believe we just unlocked one. So instead of doing what I was doing now, let's go ahead and get our first wagon. For the wagon, we need copper wire, which is 2 copper. And as you can see, the plugs, so there's a plug in here. Actually, maybe I'll do it that way. I'll be extra lazy. Rather than like wire this up properly, I'll just plug this in here so I can charge up off this one. That'll work. Now, oh, here, this is a really good example. There are more dense ways to get resources. So this was all regolith, a regolith node. So rather than having to, and that's a regolith node, there's two of them over there, regolith nodes. So instead of having to go like on a scavenger hunt for regolith, you can just go to one of the mining nodes. And yes, if you're wondering, you do unlock the ability to scan for resources and to drill them, and a whole lot of automation and stuff like that. So there's a lot of, obviously I've just only scratched the surface so far, but there we go. So the reason I picked up the regolith is so that I can make more fuel rods, because obviously we're using up power. I should have a way to replenish it. So now I have 2 spare fuel rods for when the current fuel generators run out. All right, here's the wagon. Now the wagon has 2 sides. The back will connect to another wagon. The front, the yellow part, is what you can drag around. So if I hook up to the yellow part of the wagon, as you can see, I'm dragging it around with me. If I hooked up to the back of the wagon, I would not. Because that's just a plug. It's not like a tether. Alright. The other thing I wanted for this wagon, so that we can actually upgrade our mining, is the mining laser. So the mining laser costs thermogel and glass. So let's go get the 2 sulfur for the thermogel, and then the stuff we need for the glass. Thank you for tuning in to Blossom, the Seed of Life, which originally streamed live on Twitch. If you have any feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Radamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you'd like to join my online gaming community on Discord, Radamant.com has a link to it, as does the description of this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow terraformers.